Alrighty, let's get into this. We're going to be talking about plants, ones that are root feeders, ones that are column feeders, and ones that can somewhat be a combination of the both. First, let's talk about the root feeders. If you have root feeding plants, the number one thing that you're going to need to remember is that you should try to keep a deep substrate, or at least a substrate that the roots can root themselves down into. I'm using this jungle val as an example for that. You'll see in the back there's a shooter that has roots. Generally, when you see plants that look like this that have roots coming out, that's a good indication that you will know they are root feeders. So it's always a good idea to keep your substrate a little bit deep so they have something to root down into. Moving on over, in these two tanks, this is Cambomba green that we're mainly looking at here, and I have it in two different types of environments. The one over here is the root feeding type of environment, and the other one right here is the bare bottom environment, where we will see that, yeah, it's still shooting out roots, meaning that it's getting its nutrients from the water column. Over here, it's surviving with its roots down inside the substrate, getting the nutrients that it needs from the substrate. So that leads you to believe that, okay, a plant like this could be a column feeder and a root feeder, getting its nutrients from both. Whereas in the case of the jungle val, it's not generally the case. I found out a lot of these plants you will see that you come across in this hobby will have similarities. A lot of them will be able to be one or the other, or none at all. In the example of the riccia does best when it's floating, but you can also tie it to rocks. In the case here, I have it tied to some lava rocks, and it's doing really well. Different factors will come into play when we are growing aquarium plants: the substrate, the lights, and the nutrients that they get. Plants need light to grow, okay? Some plants will require more light than others. Others won't require much light at all. Right here in this busy little aquarium is a prime example of some column feeders, okay? You'll notice in the very back we have some anubias, which is tied to some rock. In the front we have a lot of Siswasser tang with some creeping moss that's going all over it. Now, these ones right here gather their nutrients mainly from the water column itself. You don't see them shooting out roots. They basically just keep shooting out portions of themselves. Now that you've seen the difference between, what do we say here, the root feeders and the column feeders, now what kinds of nutrients and how do we take care of these plants? What do we need to provide for them? For a lot of my aquariums that I don't have a dirted substrate in, but rather a bare bottom tank or just gravel, I'll use, some liquid ferts. I really like this aquarium co-op, Easy Green, so I'm sure a lot of you out there probably know about it. Another one that I like to use, and I don't use this too much, is Flourish Iron. I just do very low amounts of this because it's highly concentrated. If you use big amounts of some of these ferts, you're bound to run into a little bit of trouble. Generally, I like to use the Wallstead method on a lot of tanks with the dirt, sand cap, thick substrate. But let's say hypothetically that you don't have dirt. Your plants aren't able to leach out nutrients from the dirt. What could you use? A lot of folks like to use Osmocote root tabs, and basically how these work, let me show you. I'm not going to use it, but just for demonstration purposes, what you would do is, let's say that these plants right here are buried in some sand. So you could go ahead, take one of these tabs, you'll bury it down in the sand or the gravel, about like right where the base of the roots of the plants are coming out of the ground, and that will be able to feed the plants right there. Now, you wouldn't want to overload your aquarium with
all of these root tabs. So for example, like I would guesstimate that a root tab could cover a 4 to 6 inch circular radius of the tank. So you'd want to like put it every few inches or so. So for example, a 10-gallon, maybe I would go no more than 4 root tabs, or depending on how heavily planted your aquarium would be. So root tabs are a good thing. However, sometimes they do get a little bit expensive because you might have to keep buying them. Same thing with the liquid ferts. But you know, that's why I like to go with the Wallstead method. I generally don't dose the ferts in the tanks that have the dirt. So, and I've had these ones running for like a very long time. So that's like my favorite type of tank. That's what I like to do. But like I said, some of you might not be able to do that right now. You might have your tanks already set up. So liquid ferts, there's a lot of them on the internet that you can buy. Root tabs, and we've discussed the different types of plants, the root feeders, the column feeders, and ones that can be a combination of the both. I hope this video has kind of helped you out to realize the difference between some of the plants. If it hasn't helped you out, I'm very sorry, but I just wanted to kind of put this out there to show you guys a little bit about different types of plants and, you know, substrate and whatnot, you know. So I hope this video has helped you out, and if you liked it, go ahead and give a like down below, and we hope to see you again. Until next time, stay lazy and adios.